Hi there, Prairie Plant Girl here. Well, as promised, I wanted to tell you about some of the things that I did while I was away in Winnipeg. And one of them was going to Prairie Originals Garden Center in Winnipeg. Well, it's actually in Selkirk, I think, Manitoba, which is just north of Winnipeg. We headed to this garden center. It's somewhere that I look at their website all the time when I'm looking at native plants and trying to select native plants from my yard, or learn the culture and what conditions the native plants I've purchased need, or even just they have a really good listing with each of their varieties that they carry, where in Canada they are native to. So to me, it's a really good resource, and being that it's just in Manitoba, a lot of the plants that they carry are native to Saskatchewan, where I live. They also carry a lot of things that are native to Manitoba and east towards like Ontario, Quebec, but because they're fairly central in Canada, they also carry quite a few that are native west in Saskatchewan, Alberta, so that works well for me. So I've been wanting to visit them for a long time. They don't ship plants. They used to, and about the time where I was ready to bite the bullet and make a big order, they I think had changed hands or something, and they no longer ship the live plants. So I had to go there to get it, and I've never been there in the season when it's worked for us to drive up and visit them. So that was interesting. We drove up there. We had the address, and at first we thought we were going completely in the wrong place because it was just a residential area, but there was a very small sign outside of this property, and then we could see there was tables lined up with plants like a greenhouse would have. So we turned in and checked it out, and sure enough, that was the greenhouse. It's just appears to be right on their property. And they had a beautiful selection with lots and lots of plants left, especially for this time of year, which is a great time of year to be planting, especially things like native plants. So it worked well for me. And I was able to get a lot. One of the things I really like about them is they sell things in these small little 5-packs. So you can get quite a few native plants for a little bit of a discounted price if you're willing to be patient and wait for them to grow, which, as many of you will know, I've been trying to grow a lot of my natives from seed for years. So I was more than willing to get something that was actually started, then take the time to try and go through processing the seeds and doing all the stratification and things that they need, just in the hopes of getting a plant out of them. This way I at least had a plant that was started. So that was great for me. They also had things in these, I think these would be a 4-inch container or 10 centimeter containers. I think they had some other sizes as well, but this was kind of mostly what they had there, and a pretty good selection. So I came out of there with several different plants, and I thought I'd share them with you. And then I'm just going to be slowly plunking them in as I know where I want them, because I had a list in my phone of things that they carried that were native to Saskatchewan, but their website doesn't say exactly what they have in stock still, like day to day, so I wasn't sure what they'd have. These are things I found, and the amount that I felt like I wanted to bring home and pay for at that time. I'll share with you what I got. We'll start with these bigger things. This is June grass. So I right now have a little blue stem that I started from seed, which is a late season or warm season grass. So June grass is a spring grass, and it has a really fun seed head on it that's kind of a white or yellow seed head on it, but it's just a real accent kind of looking piece that I think will be really fun to have in the yard. These prefer a more dry to medium moisture content and full sun. They aren't huge in size, so we're looking at around 6 to 16 inches tall and around 6 inches wide. So that's just perfect to be able to tuck a few into my landscape. I have 3 of those, and I'm really excited to see them, because it'd be nice to have a few grasses in the early season. That was something I really noticed when I went to Waterton this summer, early on in the summer, is all the different grasses that were already growing full early on in the season, as some of the warm season grasses were just getting started. And that got me thinking that I wanted more of those kind of clump forming tufty grasses that will grow early in the season. So that was one of my goals, was to get something like that. And I wound up with the June grass, which I think has a really neat seed head, and I'm really excited to get them planted and see how they work out. Something else that I got that I've been actually trying to get this and find this in garden centers. I've been asking about it all over because it is a little bit of a decorative plant, and although it's called a grass, it's technically, I believe, in the iris family, and this is blue-eyed grass. I thought garden centers might carry it because it is such a decorative plant. I don't know, I just always thought they might bring it in, find it. I never asked anyone to specifically bring it in for me, and if I had done that, they probably would have at some of the centers, but I was just asking if they carried it. This particular grass does better in a moist to medium soil, so it likes somewhere with a little bit more moisture, so I'm going to have to really look around, figure out where I'm going to plant it. That was one of the drawbacks to it. I am really hoping to get some drip lines set up in my flower beds, so when I do, I'll be able to just add a little bit of drip to them if I need to. Hopefully that's still going to happen this fall. And these grow a similar size to the June grass, and they also are a June flowering kind of grass, so a cool season plant. Again, it's not actually a grass. It has a very grassy texture. They get little blue flowers at the top of the grass, and I don't know, kind of like a bell-shaped flower, I think is what you would describe it as. So kind of a unique plant. I don't know how well you can see the grassiness of it there. But so I'm excited to see how these grow, and hopefully I can keep them alive here in my space because I am pretty dry here. But like I said, I can control the moisture as this isn't a wild space. So I will just have to do that if I really want this plant. These are both full sun plants. So I have 3 of this and 3 of the June grass. So the rest of the plants are in these 5 packs, and they're a nice little pack. They have really nice root systems on them. And they all look really good like this. And I thought they might be difficult to keep moist. We had a whole another day in Winnipeg before we were going to be coming home. So these actually just lived in my car. Luckily it wasn't overly hot, and they were in the trunk, so they weren't having the sun beat in and have that greenhouse effect. But they actually did quite well on the trip. Stayed nice and moist. Luckily they had been watered before we got them. And so this here is gumweed. It has a yellow flower, and these are 12 to 20 inches wide and tall. And again, they like a kind of a dry to medium moisture soil and full sun. They are supposed to be like kind of a bushy plant that flower from July until September. So I'm happy with that. That'll be some nice color, and I like to have yellow flowers in my yard. I always think they look so nice and cheery. These are like kind of a daisy-like flower, so a large disc-shaped flower, which attracts a lot of butterflies. They say these only usually live for about 2 to 3 years, but they do reseed. So it'll be interesting to see how well they reseed for me, and if they become a weedy thing or not. But from what I had read on the website, they're not a real weedy, like a problem plant, and they're easily pulled up if you don't want them. And it looks like there's several. I think there's several growing in each of these. I don't know if you can see that. So I could probably plant them and maybe even divide them around a little bit. I don't know if that'll make any difference in that or not. But gumweed. So that's the next plant I have to plant here. So then I grabbed this 5-pack of Heartleaf Alexander. This is another plant that I've been wanting to get my hands on for a few years. I can't remember if I ever had even seed for it. I don't think I've even been able to find seed for it before. So I was really happy to see that they still had some, and that it was available in these 5 packs. They look again like really nice, healthy plants. This grows 1 to 2 feet tall, and I think it's, about 10 inches of a spread. These want a more medium to moist soil, and they bloom in June. It's a yellow flower. The leaves are kind of heart-shaped, as you would guess by the name of the plant, and they like full sun. So again, this one is another one for a little bit of a moisture area. These attract swallowtail butterflies. They're a host plant for the larvae of swallowtail, I believe. So that's part of the reason I wanted to get this, to see if I get some swallowtail butterflies in my yard. So we'll find a special spot. I might try these in a few different places. That's one of the advantages to me of having like a 5-pack. I could put a few in one area and a few in another area and just give them a try in some different spaces. So that's Heartleaf Alexander. So next I have the low goldenrod, and it looks like there's nothing in here, but I guess they want to grow true to their name, and they're way down in their packs. But again, nice healthy plants, good root system. So they're just a little bit lower in their packs. So the low goldenrod is supposed to be one of the earliest blooming goldenrods. I already have some goldenrod in my front yard where I have my native plants growing, and I really, really like it, but it flowers quite late in the season, so I thought it'd be nice to have one that's a little bit earlier. Now that doesn't mean it really blooms that early in the season. This is July to August, and I believe mine starts in August, though I accidentally cut mine back this year late in the summer, so I didn't wind up with any blooms on it. It's just a silly, you just get going along with things and don't always stop to think. This, I believe, gets like 15 to 20 inches tall, and it has about 1 foot spread. Again, it likes a dry to medium kind of moisture level in the soil and full sun. So I think this will be really nice. Goldenrod is a bright yellow flower. It attracts all sorts of pollinators, and it's actually quite attractive as a cut flower as well, though this being low goldenrod and with its height, I don't know if I'd want to be cutting it for cut flowers, but if I have this, maybe I won't feel so guilty when I'm cutting some of my other goldenrod for bouquets, because it is really attractive, but I never want to cut it and take it out of my pollinator area there. The flowers on goldenrod, there's lots of little flowers, but they kind of form like a pyramidal kind of form to them. The one I have is a little bit more upright, I think, and this one's supposed to be a little bit more pointy at top. We'll see if that's, if maybe I understand that wrong, but that's my understanding of it. And they're a really good food source, especially like for nectar for late in the season. Sometimes there isn't a lot of plants that will give that to the pollinators late in the season, and this one will do that for them. So low goldenrod. So now I have purple prairie clover. And if you've been following my channel for a little bit, you may have caught videos where I've been trying to grow this from seed, and I have not been successful. I have tried just spreading it in the fall. I've tried starting it indoors. I've tried doing all the stratification, but honestly, I think some of those that I had put outside as seed, and I think I weeded them out, not realizing what they are. This tag says that they are a late sprouter, so they come up a little bit later in the spring, and honestly, they just have kind of a weedy look to them to me at this point. And I never really could find a good photo. It always shows the great little clover flower, but I could never find a good source to show me what the plant looked like. And so I was never really sure what I was looking for. But I suspect I've probably had it come up in my yard, and I've probably pulled it out thinking it was a weed. But purple prairie clover has that great clover flower on it. It's a great plant for pollinators. Pollinators love clover, and this one is supposed to bloom around July in my area. It's 8 to 20 centimeters tall, or inches tall, and about 10 inches wide. This again is a medium to moist area kind of plant, and full sun. So I'm really excited to have these started for me, so I don't have to keep trying to get them started myself, because I don't know, something's going wrong for me. And this way I will just have these plants to try and play with and learn more about, and then hopefully if I want more, I can start more from seed, because it's easy to get seed for this plant, but I've had trouble getting it going. So then the very last 5-pack that I got is green needlegrass. So this is a very fine kind of textured seed head on this grass. This is another spring blooming kind of bunching grass. This one though is for more moist areas, medium to moist and full sun. So this is like I said, a June grass, so a cool season grass. So I should be able to have this, again, it's one of those grasses that comes up kind of gets things started in June, while maybe some of my later season grasses are coming. This one grows 20 to 40 inches tall and about 1 foot wide. So I think I said it's a medium to moist soil and full sun. So my thinking with some of these grasses is, if you caught the video where I had planted the little blue stem that I grew from seed this year, I planted the groupings of 3, one on the east side of my front yard and one on the west side of my front yard. The east side of my front yard has downspout runoff from my neighbor's house and my house. And so it gets a lot more moisture there and stays a little bit more wet there. It's a little bit of a low spot. So I thought having some of these green needlegrass in amongst the little blue stem. Little blue stem is a warm season grass. This is a cool season grass. So these will get started in the spring, kind of fill in the space. And then when they're kind of done their thing for the year, the little blue stem will be coming into its show of the year. That's my plan. And then on the west side of my yard, where it's a drier space and it gets a lot more of that full-on afternoon, really strong sun, and it just doesn't get the same kind of moisture, and it's a little bit higher, I thought the June grass would be good. So that's kind of my thoughts on those. These will go in my front yard in with my little blue stem groupings, and they'll just be the spring grass, and then I'll have the little blue stem come in as the late season grass. I may even take some of these other plants and kind of take them out from those clumps of grass and add a few of these in to just continue the look on the front corners of my yard. But some of these will also be going in my backyard. So like I said, I don't have a full-on plan for these plants. I just kind of went out there and I just looked at what they had. I looked at my list of the things that they carried that were native to Saskatchewan, and I just kind of grabbed what I wanted off of that list and just had fun making selections out there and grabbing plants. My husband just laughed as he watched me go through there. But Prairie Originals was a fun place to visit. I would definitely recommend their website if you're curious, if you live in Canada and you're curious about what plants are native to your area, especially if you're in like that, I'd say Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Ontario area. They have a lot of plants for those areas that are listed on their website because they're in between between Saskatchewan and Ontario. Manitoba has a lot of shared native plants with those two provinces. So Prairie Originals carries a lot of those plants and they list them on their website and you can learn about them. They will tell you about plants if they reseed or run through rhizomes or anything and can get to be weedy and not good for yard settings like household areas, but they can also tell you if there's things that are really good for, naturalizing a large prairie space. So I think they have lots of great information, and check them out. They're not sponsored. They did not help me out with the cost of any of this. They didn't invite me out. They didn't know who I was when I was there. Not that I'm any big celebrity to know who I was, but yeah, it was fun to be able to go there and look at the plants and see how they grow them. And being that it's a source I've used online for a lot of years, I just really enjoyed it. So I just sorted through these plants here. I have 5 varieties here that want a dry to medium soil conditions, and then I have 4 over here that want medium to moist. So I just thought it would be easier for me when I'm planning things to just have that visualized. I'm a visual person, so that helps me. But I thought we would take this gumweed, and I'd like to put a few of these in my backyard, and I think I know where I'd like them. So I thought maybe tonight, before it gets too dark here and you can't see anything, we'd try and get a couple of these planted in a space in my backyard here, and at least get some of these plants in the ground and get this these native additions started into my yard. So let's go plant a few plants. So this is the space here where I'm thinking of putting these plants. This is space anyone who follows my videos quite a bit has probably gotten somewhat familiar with this season, because I've done a lot of work back in that corner. I've added a summer suite. I always say it wrong. Put it on the screen there, and a couple of birch trees, I cut back some mugo pines quite extensively, opened up that space, some pole beans going in the back there, and I put these red shades Heliopsis in here as bare root this summer. So quite a bit going on that I've done right this season. So some of you are probably familiar with that. I also just did a video about my cherry trees, and that's the Juliet cherry tree there. I have a hanging basket in behind it, and I have a hydrangea. I cannot remember off the top of my head what the variety is. I'll put it on the screen. But lots of perennials in the back there. But I thought that putting that gumweed in the front, going from in front of the Heliopsis there and kind of bringing it out around in front of the hydrangea would be a good layer there. The Heliopsis also blooms late in the season. You can just barely see the flowers starting on this one, which is pretty nice considering these were bare root just a few months ago. And I think the yellow of the gumweed just down in front of the kind of reddish orange tones of the Heliopsis will look nice, and then just kind of bring it along in front here a little bit. And I think 3, given their spacing, will be enough. So I'm just going to pop those in. It shouldn't take much with those tiny little plugs. I will mark the plants. I brought out some marks. I just grabbed some tags out of my greenhouse that didn't have anything written on them. Just penciled gumweed on them for now, and I'll have to relabel them later. I thought I'd just mark them with those tags for now, being that they're such small plants. I won't accidentally weed them out or anything. So let's get planting. So this is that area that I removed some grass from this spring. So I have all this kind of couple of feet, 60 centimeters or so, of space to be planting in now that I didn't have before. There is also it looks like a little geranium that's brought itself here. This will just be a wild native geranium to our area. I believe that they come up, they just pop themselves up wherever in my yard. They have a really dainty purple flower, usually kind of early summer. So I was thinking these are the Heliopsis red shades, and they get about 18 inches wide. And let me just recheck this. Yeah, so these get about 60 centimeters tall, which is about 2 feet. So they should do well to put one of these gumweed right here, and it gets just a little bit, it'll be just a little bit shorter, so come maybe around here, and then this guy here is about at its full height, so we'll go here down to here, and they both have about the same spread, so we'll have them spread out around here. So I think I'll put one about here, and we'll maybe bring one and just kind of wrap it back a little bit this way. I have a blue sage here, so I don't know if you can even tell the difference, but there is another one of those Heliopsis right here. But the sage is kind of wanting to hug, but I kind of like that look there. So again, I think we'll go like that. And then we'll bring the next one over. And I don't want them like kind of in a straight line, so I'll maybe bring it up just a little bit and put it around there. So kind of like a little swoop like that. And you know what? I might even bring one more back. I don't know if you can see, but back on this side of that one. That'll just leave me one left. So we'll see. Maybe I'll just pop it in back a little bit further, and we'll plant all 5 here. And I think that'll look really nice. This will be some late season color. And I don't have a ton of really late season color in my yard, so some late season color is something I need to add, and this will be some of it. I'll have to find a few more tags, but I think we'll put a few back here as well. So I'll put one back about here, I think, as well. Maybe over a little bit more. Okay, so let's start down at this end. At least they shouldn't be too difficult to plant because they're in these little packs. Just open them up. I'm going to lift the plugs out, and I'm not going to need a real big hole. Now it does look, there's a lot of plants here, and I'm really tempted to try and pull them apart. I think I should just leave them for now, and if they all grow, I could probably separate them out next year. That's probably safer. What do you think down in the comments? Would you try and separate those or just leave them as they are? I'm going to opt with leave them as they are for this year. So I did put, oh, mosquitoes are out. I did put some cardboard down here, so I'll have to remove that. Oh, most of it's kind of broken up already. I have really heavy clay here, but like I said, I don't need a real big hole, and I'm not going to be adding any amendments because I don't want to encourage too much like leafy growth or anything with these plants at this point in time. I really just want them settling in, getting their roots established, and then going dormant, because we are going to be hitting our average last frost in just about a month, and then it will start to significantly cool down over the nights and into the days, and by the end of October we will be having hard freezes and the ground will be starting to get those first little layers of frost in them. Last year we actually had a snowstorm the end of October, and I don't think that snow ever disappeared until spring. So that was kind of freak. That's not normal, but it can happen. I do want to loosen up some of the soil here so the roots can, you know, settle in and have somewhere to go. But so I've got a nice little hole dug here. I'm going to take this plug. I think it's deep enough now. Might even be too deep. It's okay. I'll set it in there and I'll just backfill around it. Just tuck it in real well. Like I said, we'll just put this little tag here. Just don't want to forget I put these here and weed them out by mistake. So that's one down. Now we're going to go over to here and get another one done. This is pretty close to this geranium, but these geraniums don't, they came up now from seed, but it might not even come back up there in the spring. And if it does, it's a real low, they get kind of loose growing, and they're an early spring kind of plant. And then these guys are probably still going to be, these gumweed are probably still going to be developing early on in the spring. Sorry, they're an early summer kind of plant. The gumweed will still be kind of growing, developing, and settling in. So I think they'll work together, and then quite often I find these geraniums, they die off after that season. They might set seed, but it'll be probably in a slightly different spot the next year, so I'm not really going to worry about working around it. So I'm just making holes that are about 3 to 4 times the size of these little plugs, so that when they go in, they have lots of room with looser soil, because with my heavy clay, I don't want them to have to be struggling to get their roots out, especially this time of year. I want them to settle in as quickly as possible. So I'm just giving them lots of nice loose soil that they can work their way into. So there, that's 2 already. Little tag there. All settled in. So I'm just going to keep working my way along and get all 5 of these planted. there, I was able to get 5 of those native plants already planted into my yard. I don't know if I mentioned they're all perennial plants that I picked out from the garden center. So these are all plants that will last for several seasons. Like I said, some are only expected to live for a few seasons, but they usually will set seed and regenerate in that way, whereas most of the rest should last for many good years and be a good hardy plant for the prairies. So I'm excited to see how these grow, how they go through my harsh winter that's coming up. I will need to be getting all of these plants in the ground. You want to get them in at least 6 weeks before the ground freezes solid. Like I said, that should be right around the end of October sometime for me, into the beginning of November. Just kind of depends on how our autumn goes. But this is a start. 5 plants in the ground. I'm really excited to see how these do and to have this color next fall, hopefully, when they're blooming. So stay tuned as we keep planting more plants and doing more exciting things in the garden. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.